After a pale performance against Chaves, we were back into the thick of it in a very important week. Two matches up against Sporting. We saw today a Benfica that we haven't seen all season. Is this the Benfica that we have for the rest of the season? Or will it be another Jekyll and Hyde? That and much more in another night, another podcast.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero o manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer instante e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo Fumaças. What's going on, everybody? With me, as always, Dave de Oliveira. What's happening, Dave?
What's going on, Alfredo? Great to be back this week. Another night of another podcast, like you said. We've already got the Freddies active in the chat, so shout out the Freddies. Like and subscribe, smash that like button.
That's it. Dave getting the pleasantries out of the way. I like it.
That's it.
Yeah, let us know how the sound is coming in. I changed my setup a little bit, so because my sound is usually low, but I think this is good now. But let us know how the sound is. Also with us, and a man that has no problems with his sound and that doesn't need any introduction, Cristiano Oliveira. Como é que é, amigo?
What's going on, guys? I'll keep it low so you don't have to tune me down. What's going on?
What's going on?
How you guys
Chris?
doing? I'm gonna try the new Chris. This is gonna be the new.
What's the new Chris?
Calm, relaxed. I don't know this relaxed, calm.
Relaxed,
no rants.
Chris.
No interrupting anybody. Mr. Positivity.
No.
This sounds like ASMR with this low toned Chris. You got
sounds like who?
ASMR, like a very
Chris
sexy voice going on.
Chris doesn't know what that is.
Who the hell? Who is that?
Chris, ASMR. There's these people on YouTube, and they have a lot of followers that they do ASMR, and I don't know what it stands for.
They don't have me as a follower.
No. But the whole thing is to do things and capture the noise of those things. But the mic is turned up way, way, way loud. They don't say anything. For example, like changing the button on my iPhone.
Espera ahí. Hold on. My the ASMR Tronato in the real quick. I'm going back to irritated Chris. Hold on.
Irritating Dave, Chris.
all day, Dave, Alfredo. You guys mean to tell me you've actually wasted time, taking time out of your life to watch these whatever people, whatever.
No, but it's commonly known.
Thing.
It'll come up on my.
It can't be commonly, Dave. I've never heard of it in my life.
It is. It's very
I'm
common.
sure there's Freddies in the chat that'll back us up.
Because the thing it doesn't work for you, Chris, because you're regularly loud, so you operate at a different plane of existence than these people. These people are about very low sound.
You hang out with me all the time. Am I loud, bro? I'm not loud. I'm louder here on the podcast.
You're loud like any Portuguese guy I know.
Oh, seeing, but only when talking Benfica.
Only when talking Benfica, and
yes.
that's what we're here for, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say hello to to the people that have joined us already. Emelo, Benfica Simão, Jason Gaidola, Sneaker Shouts, Diogo Reis, Bruno Gil Rodrigues. Here's the usuals, man. Here we are, Tuesday night, another podcast, and we got a show. I don't know if it's a great show, but we got a show for you tonight. Episode 522 is what we're up to, and tonight we will recap the Chaves game that happened this past Friday, Good Friday. Then today we had the Sporting game, the second leg of the Portuguese Cup. We'll talk about that, and we'll look ahead to round 2 against Sporting, which comes up this Saturday. So here we are, another night, another podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your support. We should also say hello to Pama Media. And Dave, I haven't set a timer, but I will do now. Pama Media, so we're also streaming on there. So check us out. Great internet radio out in Turlock, Northern California. So let's get the hostilities started here. Benfica faced Chaves on Good Friday, as I mentioned. I'll give you the lineup and we'll get started. Trubin was in goal. Thiago Araújo. Antonio Silva was serving yellow card accumulation suspension. Otamendi and Auschnitz completed the back four. Tino and Neves in the middle of the park. Di Maria and Neres on the sides. Rafa behind Cabral. Cabral got the nod. Chris, were you surprised? Do these lineups surprise anyone anymore? Or at this point, we can't really figure out who's going to be the lineup. But then we see this. It's like, okay, well, all right, we know what's going on there. What do you think, Chris?
Huh? You're asking me a question. I think you said you're going to go to Dave. So what do I think about what? The lineups? I wasn't even paying attention. I swear to God, I wasn't even.
Dave,
I was looking at
the
my
lineups surprise you anymore? Or is just like, okay, well, it could have been this guy, it could have been that guy, but we never know.
I feel like the only question is the striker, where he spins a wheel and see where the wheel lands on between the three strikers up top. But even with Arshness at left back now, he's Schmidt's go-to. There's always room for an Arshness in Schmidt's lineup. So we've got left backs on the bench ready to go, but he still plops them in there in that position. So that 4 back line is solidified. Looks like now Coxu's on the out, so Neves and Florentino have got that midfield, and he's rolling with the Di Maria, Silva, and Neres attacking front.
Dave, I'm picturing a little circle in the locker room, right? With Tankstead, Cabral, and Marcos Leonardo holding hands, right? And then Roger comes in the middle, he spins a Gatorade bottle, and then whoever points it to, that's my guy. That's my guy.
See, I was thinking more of like a carnival wheel,
like,
like when you're at the carnivals and
with
there's
just 3
the different
slices?
like crown and anchors.
Like the Wheel of Fortune wheel?
Like the Wheel of Fortune. With just 3 slices, right? And each one is
Saiu da fortuna. Saiu da fortuna, jogas tu.
I don't know. I kind of I struggle to think that if those guys, you think those guys, how far ahead do you think those guys know that they're going to play, Chris? In your opinion?
The night before, the day before.
The night or the day before?
Yeah, the day, whatever. I say night, day, whenever they hold the meetings. Yeah, so at some point the day before, these guys find out. For the most part, I'm pretty sure there's games that the mister decides in, game day morning. But for the most part, the day before, he wants the guys to prepare, sleep well, get the nerves out the way, and mentally prepare for the next day. So I'd say the day before.
So what's it like in practice, right? Because both you and I have played organized football, right? And usually the practices during the week, there's at some point there's almost like a, and I don't want to, maybe dress rehearsal is the wrong, right? But he's testing tactical setups, and whether it's the offensive block playing against a defensive block. So at some point, one of these guys has to have a bit of an inkling that he's going to start, right? Because he's playing with the starters in training.
A good coach. A good coach
keeps them guessing.
Yeah, he keeps them guessing. He keeps rotating.
Keeps everybody
keeps the guys because again, that exactly took the words out of my mouth. That's how you keep guys motivated. You never know who's gonna play, right? So look, right now it's your turn, and Dave jump in, then I jump in, and listen, it's all here to be had. It's up to our performances in practice and our dedication and our investment in the game and the practice that said day. And then, he'll make his decision. And then at some point, he'll inform the team. Sometimes, you'll get it before practice. Sometimes he does it after practice. There's always that chat. There's always the charla, whatever, the afternoon meeting, after the sesta, get the guys prepared. Tomorrow, this is what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? And at some point, he lets the guys know. But like I said, some
Yeah.
coaches let you just let you guess and let you sit there wondering if you're gonna get picked. But for the most part, man, they want the guys to relax and start getting their mental status prepared for the next day for the game. So like that, nothing is a surprise for these guys.
Yeah. So a good Friday game, in which Benfica faced a Chaves that has not been doing all that great. Currently in 18th place, so worst team in the league. And Benfica knew right away what Chaves was coming to play for. They were going to park the bus, have two blocks, two banks of four in front of the ball, and that's how they're going to do it. And Benfica really struggled to penetrate. We had that penalty call on Ba, which I thought was the right call. Di Maria stepped up, and it's just a lackluster penalty that didn't really seem that he had put too much effort. And I think a lot of these guys depend on a little juke move before they kick the ball to see if they can anticipate which side the goalie's leaning to. So they don't really have to hit the ball that hard because they always figure that the goalie is going to go to the other side anyway because of the juke move. And it was just a shitty penalty by Di Maria. And that was the one opportunity that we really had, the clear opportunity that we really had in that first half, and we wasted it. And look, I think that regardless of whether you're designated penalty kicker for your team or not, you're gonna miss. You're bound to miss. But yeah, so it was just not a very good half of soccer by Benfica that went into the locker room tied with the last place team and really scratching their heads and thinking, how are we going to penetrate and get behind this defense so we could create some opportunities. Came out of the half, 63rd minute, we get another penalty call. This one, I think, I don't know, Chris, I would like to get your take on it, but I thought this one wasn't as clear as the one on Di Maria. And I think that if they didn't call it, I wouldn't be too surprised. What do you think? Do you still remember the play, or you want me to ask Dave?
No, listen, I'm gonna leave all the negativity out. I'm not gonna criticize or compliment nobody.
Positive, Chris.
I'm just gonna pasar a bola Dave. Let Dave get his kicks in. I've been playing. I've been doing a lot of Di Maria lately. Jocking the ball. So I'm just pasar a David. David, shoot ahí.
That's the one where he's walking out of the box and he gets fouled just outside, or he's on the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to VAR or whatever.
Yeah, it's 50. I've definitely seen more clear-cut penalties not called that should have been called, where I guess we were on the favor of the ref side in this match, but unfortunately we just weren't able to convert these favors, right? But yeah, that one, it's right on the line. He's going outside of the box, so it is could go either way. But
let me jump in. Real quick, because Dave just said something that reminded me of something. It's a great, and I know we're talking about this Benfica game, but it's a good point to mention something. Conversation that I had with Hugo, as Dave said, on this time we were in the referee's good favor, right? To them, they decided it was a penalty. And then next week, you'll have the same exact play in another stadium, and whomever's sitting in the VAR will decide it's not a penalty. And then you always have difference of opinions, and the fans stuff starts, and that's how the accusations of corruption and all this stuff, the shenanigans that goes on in Portuguese football gets thrown around. Sometimes, there is something there, but a lot of times just, hey, everybody has a difference of opinion, right?
Yep.
And this reminded me of a conversation that Hugo and I had, and Dave will be familiar with this because Dave's a big hockey guy, and I think you would do too, Alfredo. Which is they have the control center in Toronto, the headquarters office. Every officiating call, every goal, every is viewed, reviewed. It's by a panel of people watching every single game across the United States in the NHL, and they discuss it. And so you always, for the most part, have the same people or the same guidelines to what is a penalty to what is not a penalty. And even if a referee it sometimes might call it wrong, there's this panel there that will review it and is able to revert it and do what they need to do to get the call right. And in football, I know it's a little bit different, but maybe Portugal, and I'm just going to talk about Portugal, not talk about any other league, right? But maybe Portugal needs to go to a control center to where they have the same 5, 6 guys looking at every call, looking at every penalty. Because again, as we said, as Dave said, and Dave's not wrong, right? That we were on the referee's good graces that day, right? Whoever the VAR referee, because somebody else watches that and they're going to say it's not a penalty. And again, if that happens in a Porto game, in a Sporting game, same exact play, and it doesn't get called, then they're going to point back, but it was called for Benfica. So I know it has nothing to do with the Benfica Chaves game, Alfredo, but I figured I'd mention something like that because, again, no matter how much transparent you get with this, no matter how many referee, like the whole conversation, now we all say we want to hear the VAR conversations going back and forth between one another, that's not going to change the opinion of a different person looking. Because again, we can look at remember there was that whole bullshit going on in I don't know, Oscars, social media, whatever it was. The dress was gold or the dress was blue, right? Remember that whole thing, and people look at it, and like it was blue, it was gold. So like two different people can look at the same exact thing and think two different things. So I was thinking, right? You and I were thinking maybe the way to kind of fix this, put a stop to this stuff in Portuguese football, is to get a control center like they do in the NHL, MLB. They're actually starting to do it in other sports now.
Chris, let me ask you a question, just for my own clarity, right? In this control center, it's always the same group of guys, and every game goes to this control center?
Yeah, it's in Toronto, right, Dave? It's called control center, right? Yeah, I think it's a control center.
I'm trying to remember.
I know the NFL one is in New York, right? The NFL one is in New York.
I think it might be moving to LA now.
The Situation Room in
whatever it's called.
So
whatever
it's always
called.
the same panel of guys. So it's always the same. Let's say it's a group of 8 guys. It's always the same 8 guys.
I'm guessing, change? But I'm pretty sure because again, it's 7 days a week, right? So I'm pretty sure guys change. But what they probably do is rotate. Instead of having the same 8 guys all take off on the same night, hey, they rotate. And again, there's these guidelines that they have to go through. And I know some calls might still, but at least the percentage of calls having a different opinion will shorten. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I
think
understand.
It'll help.
I understand. And I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think that's a good thing. And one of the things that I was discussing with Luis Pires last night was that. Sorry, I'm dropping names.
Superstar.
Chris, one of the things that I was... And no, the one thing that we mentioned was that the amount of cameras in an NFL game, in an NHL game, really, the amount of cameras, the amount of angles... when you're seeing all those angles and you're getting different views in slow motion, live, whatever... the more cameras you have, it takes away some of the doubt and some of the interpretation, which I think that a lot of it, and I'm not against VAR. I think VAR is great. But the thing is that when you put a human in front of VAR, it's still going to be left up to his interpretation. So whatever interpretation he could have had on the field, he could have watching several replays.
100%.
That's why I don't think these headsets are the be all and end all. Like now everything is going to be everything's going to be solved because they can tell the stadium what the decision was. If it's a wrong decision, it's still a wrong decision at the end of the day. It doesnn't matter if he's got the headset or not.
Oh, you remember a couple of weeks ago? I started to lose. There was a possible penalty. The referee comes, does and he goes, "No penalty." And he goes back to the play like, no shit, we know that. You said it wasn't. He came out like, no, falta contigo. And he turned around and ran to the middle of the field like,
yeah.
where's the explanation? But Alfredo, going back to answer you more directly, right? When you said, and you're right, you can look at now with more video, more angles, your opinion might change, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you, Alfredo, was looking at this video or these angles of 100 different cameras, right, and you still get the call wrong, right? The odds of, not the odds, but you watch the same play, at least you're consistent. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You're always going to be consistent with
Right,
your same
because
opinion.
it's the panel that follows the guidelines.
It's your opinion, but it's your opinion, right? And you're like, again, and if you see the same identical play next week, to you, it's still not going to be a penalty.
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say? So that's what I'm referring to, that maybe they got to come up to a panel. But again, we've seen it in Portuguese soccer where the referee gets called, or the VAR, the two people in VAR, they have the images in front of them, but they choose not to say, oh, manda aqui, vem aqui, whatever. So it can still be very influential. Now, when you have 4 or 5 guys that just do this on a weekly basis, this is their job, to sit there while there's games going on. There's 3 different schedules of games, right? An early game, midday, and then a night game, and just have the same guys there. At least you get some sort of consistency, man. I don't know. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I was gonna ask you something, but I got distracted.
You have the Diogo Reis saying difficult to do, Chris.
Yeah.
NHL, all games are playing at the same time. A match day starts Friday night and ends Monday. Diogo Reis, he said, then he goes, very simple. Let managers have ability to challenge plays. Like, to be honest with you, man, like,
you can't do that in football.
I don't understand that either. I understand VAR has helped out in some things, but again, the VAR also hurts because when you slow down a play, right? You slow down a video of any specific play. I mean, you can call a foul on any little thing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, the speed of the game live is totally different than when you're slowing things down. So, I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of it. But I like it for, like, offsides stuff.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, Chris. And I know that you're a guy that watches a bit of football. Do you think VAR is there a specific league in which you feel that VAR is a lot better? I know that there's leagues. I know the EPL VAR is quick. Those guys make decisions within 30 seconds, 40 seconds. They're not like they're a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes like the Portuguese league. But do you feel that there's a league where a lot of the VAR calls that you see are the right calls?
I don't know if it's the right calls or not, but because again, there's always a human error in things, right? But for the most part, there's transparency. They do stuff quick. Nobody feels like it's just dragging on. And I guess the example is the EPL, right? I would say the EPL wants to be the standard in this, and they're the ones that really push for it too. They're one of the leagues that was pushing for it initially. So if I had to choose somebody, I would say the EPL. But again, the EPL is a totally different league, man. They allow contact. They understand that soccer is a contact sport. And so there's a lot of times you see, like, one thing I've always complained about the Portuguese league is when a defender's in his final third, and he just turns his back to a striker or midfielder and he touches him in the back and he dives on the ball and it's a foul right away. Like in EPL, they just say play on.
Yeah.
So there's different standards. You know that you're a referee yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's part of the culture. It's the Portuguese football culture, and you see it all the time, especially when Portuguese teams go and play in European competition. They don't do this. They have the same behavior that they would have in a Portuguese league.
Yeah, because they know the referees aren't going to fall for it. They're not going to eat that shit.
Right.
Jason Gondola says here, VAR is only good on offsides and goal lines. Exactly. That's right. That's kind of my view on it. It helps in some things, but the other things.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to goal line and VAR, it's
good to see like
agressões,
and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's very black and white. But anyway, getting back to the game. So penalty. We were talking about the penalty from that Di Maria was fouled on, and Cabral stepped up. Cabral also misses the penalty, and thankfully or not, there was encroachment by by a few Chaves players that the referee, with the help of VAR, ended up calling for the penalty to be retaken. Cabral again to the same side, almost the same type of kick, same height, same everything, misses again, and I can't remember last time where I've seen three penalties missed in one game. I really, I don't know. It was really weird, Dave.
And they were all, especially someone like Cabral, who's got that picanha muscle behind him. You want him to just
Yeah,
fire that shot with power, but same exact spot, same exact touch of the ball, and credit to the goalie, man. He made the saves, but all three penalties, there was nothing convincing behind the
yeah,
shot. Di Maria, he does that juke move, and whether or not the goalie bites, you're always at that risk. But somebody with the power of Cabral, you just want him to hammer that shit home, and
yeah.
unfortunately, he doesn't do it on these two penalties.
It made me miss Cardozo. Cardozo
I
used to
know
fucking blast them. He used to blast those balls, man, and it was like
so many people were posting his penalties on Twitter
even
on Friday.
even if you get a hand on it, that shit was is hit with such force that it's in the back of the net. There's no way to stop it. But yeah, three missed, and I think that uh, you watch this team play, and you watch how this team has been reacting, especially in the past few weeks. Um, Going back to even before Benfica lost to Sporting, then Porto, and I think that this team's mental state is really fragile. They lack confidence. I think they lack the ability to persevere, to keep going down. I think that when things start going bad, they keep on going bad because I don't think this team has the mental fortitude to really overcome adversity. And I don't know if that's what you feel, Chris. That these guys are just in a state that they can't get out of their own heads.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I was actually thinking about something today during the game, and not to talk about today's game, but um, for a second there, the effort that the players were putting into this game, I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, we could sit here and criticize Roger Schmidt, or we went, and I'm not Dave. I'm not going to criticize, but we can sit here and criticize them all we want. But at least these guys are showing that they haven't given up on the coach yet.
Yeah.
So that was just in today's game. Obviously, you're talking about Friday's game. Um,
Oh, but that's
so it's a
that's
totally
something that
different game,
we've
totally
noticed,
different
Chris.
atmosphere. Yeah, yeah. But I just think sometimes the guys, I don't know, man. It's been a long season. Things haven't gone according to plan. Some guys are frustrated with the coach. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of frustration inside that locker room. And sometimes it might seem to us that they're not giving it their all. But man, sometimes it's not your day. And yeah, we Benfiquistas, the last thing we expect, right, is for you not to go out there and give it your all, right? At the bare minimum, you can have a bad game, but as long as you're giving, you're 100% out there, I think Benfiquistas will be not. I don't want to say okay, but they'll let it slide because they say they'll know that you gave it all.
Yeah.
Pá, as coisas não saíram bem, mas o gajo jogou, explosou todo para jogar bem hoje. And that's the one thing we want to see. And sometimes, yeah, you see the motions, the players going through their motions and stuff. Like you see Rafa. Again, we don't know the guy personally, but it seems like at times he doesn't care. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, us as fans watching on TV might get frustrated. But again, I think just um, players themselves are frustrated. They're not having the season they expected. It started with so much fanfare, right? Spending all types of money. Coxu hasn't lived up to expectations. The strikers, they never know which one's going to play. Like we talked earlier in the beginning of the show, it's the spinning wheel or spin the bottle, whatever, to see who plays. And I just think that a lot of times that attitude, doesn't look like you're into it. They might be trying, but Yeah, I could totally understand your question, but it's something I can't really
Yeah.
answer. I'm not in that locker room, man. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
frustrating at times from us, just like it is for them.
Yeah, and I think that for most of the season, right? And there's some guys here and there that have, you look at them and they're just going through the motions. But for the most part, I think that there's a lot of effort that the team has put forth. One thing, as you mentioned, Chris, we haven't seen the team give up on this coach yet. Otherwise, I think he would have been sunk by now. But so that also
But
speaks
but
that
but
if
but
you
but there
support a
are
guy, you play for them.
there are people. There was, and as you know, I don't spend that much time on Twitter nowadays. I go in there and I get out. Um, but there were some people on Friday insinuating that Di Maria was just there and he tapped the ball and then one missed PK. That some people are saying it looked like it was purposely done. Like he was just
Ah,
like,
nah,
yeah.
nah, man,
I don't want to I
no,
don't want to
man,
say
no.
I'm not the one saying it. I'm just saying that there's people that are saying that's why to me today, that's why I mentioned what I mentioned a few minutes ago when I was watching the game and I saw the effort and I said, "Oh, no, these guys haven't given up yet."
Yeah,
But there were some people on Friday saying that
no.
those penalties were missed on purpose because the players have kind of given up. But today we saw a totally different attitude.
I think the argument that you can make is that, after a couple games for the national team and a trip across the Atlantic, Di Maria playing against the 18th place team, maybe he could have been a guy that he would have rested ahead of the Sporting game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and not just that, man, and not just that. He listen. Even Ronaldo and Messi have missed penalties. You know what I mean?
No, no doubt,
I think
no doubt.
Messi missed one here at MetLife Stadium. I think still traveling in the Copa America final. Right? I think it's
Yeah,
still going into orbit. But again, like the disrespect that Di Maria has gotten over the weekend because of that one missed penalty. All of a sudden, he's the
no,
worst. People don't want him on the team, and it's just like, man, you guys need to think to
yeah, I don't.
yourself sometimes. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't
it
agree with
just
that. I don't
the
agree with that.
nonsense that we hear, it's
I,
unacceptable.
I think that at this point, a lot of people are looking for scapegoats. And I think that Di Maria, because he's such an influential player and people know that he's the guy that can make the difference, I think that he gets judged much harsher than anyone else because he is Di Maria, because he
Yeah,
came, you know, there was no price tag, obviously, because we signed him on a free, but it's our marquee player. It's our difference maker. So I think that a lot of people, when they see that things are not going well, the team's not producing, the team's not scoring, who do they turn to? They turn to Rafa, they turn to Di Maria, they turn to the lack of a decent forward. So there's all these scapegoats. I mean, we've also seen people turn on Otamendi, and you know, admittedly,
you,
Otamendi hasn't had a good past month and a half or so. He hasn't been his strong, firm, and rock self. But that's people are just looking for scapegoats at this point because the season is not over yet. But we expected this team to play a lot better.
you have Diogo Reis here in the chat saying I think Koksun, Cabral, and then Morato too have probably checked out.
Yeah, but
Again,
and those
as
guys
we
have
said
arguments
before,
for it, right?
no, but I wasn't even going to go that way. I was going to say, as we said before, with the penalties and stuff, right? People could look at the same thing and think differently. So yeah, I mean, this is what Diogo sees from those guys. He thinks they've checked out.
Yeah,
That's his opinion. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like Morato, I think he's just been playing out of position, so he looks crappy. I think. You know what I mean? With Silva leaving in the summer, because I think it's a foregone conclusion. I think Morato is just biding his time and waiting for next season. I think he's gonna, want to play a lot more in the center of the park. So
yeah,
yeah, I think a lot of that is frustration. I don't know if it's checked out.
yeah.
I know it's frustration. Now Cabral, I mean, as you said, Alfredo, is it granted? I mean, the guy was scoring 4 goals in
Yeah,
4 games in a row, and like, yeah. By the way, yeah, you're
yeah.
gonna
I
sit
don't.
because we
Yeah,
need a guy to press. You
yeah.
know
I
what I
don't.
mean? Because that's what's important. We're gonna pay. That's what we need. Soccer needs more guys to press than guys to score goals.
I
But that's
don't.
a conversation for the
Yeah,
next game. I'll talk about that in a
I
little
don't.
bit.
I don't think he's checked out, but I think that he's definitely annoyed. I think that Gokshu at this point he's not in a very good situation. He's probably hoping that the season goes off the rails and there's a new coach that comes in because he'll get a new lease on life. So I don't know. I think, but there's a couple guys that might be annoyed. I think that Muratu had a chance to leave and go to the EPL and even Ligue 1, if I'm not mistaken. But he was probably told, look, just hang in there because next year you're gonna have a shot to start. And maybe it was with that premise that Muratu is kind of as kind of stuck in.
They rejected 35 million for Fulham for Moratu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, I mean, they gotta have plans.
just wrapping up the rest of this game in the 68th minute. So 5 minutes after the missed penalty kick from a free kick, almost a lab play, João Neves gets the first touch, skims the ball, ends up in the back of the net, and we finally get that goal that we were looking for. 3 substitutions made by Roger Schmidt in the 74th minute and the 82nd minute. Leonardo for Cabral, João Mário for Di Maria, and Kokshu for Neres. But the game really amounted to Benfica having a lot of possession, but very inconsequential possession. 3 missed penalty kicks, a goal from a free kick, and probably not as much offensive production in terms of chance creating took place against the team that's 18th place. I just think that it was just too short. And then coming into this game, and I'll ask you guys right now in terms of after what we've been seeing from.
Wait, before you move on to this
Go ahead,
game,
Chris.
okay, let me ask you guys a question
Sure.
before we move on. And this is a term that's more heard here in American sports, but Dave, Alfredo, do you look at this game on Friday as a trap game? Game that the team was looking forward to the next 2 obviously matchups against the crosstown rival. So maybe the team's mind wasn't into that game because what they call a trap game. You guys believe in any of that?
Dave, I'll let you go first.
I don't think so. I think what we saw, and Alfredo kind of alluded to it, this team is fragile. Ever since that 5-0 defeat, they haven't been the same, and it's now kind of baby steps to get them back to where I want to say where we've seen them playing at this year, but we know they haven't reached their top potential. Also, you got to factor in this was the first game back after an international break. Some of those players are coming in, like you said, Di Maria, Otamendi, from halfway across the globe. I don't know. The Benfica is never clicking at 100% after international break. So I don't think it was a trap game, but it was definitely a game where you definitely expected more, considering their opposition.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I'm gonna take that piece in which you mentioned that the team is fragile. They're not even at a level of confidence that they could underestimate a team. And the other factor for me, at least in my mind, is that they know that they can't slip, so they can't afford to look past anyone because they know that if I slip against Chaves and I lose 2 points, I'll go into the Alvalade on Saturday, and that game, it means nothing to me, nothing. So it's important that, and I think the team understands it, that you need to continue getting those 3 points. So it could have been a trap game under normal circumstances, Chris, but I think because of the current circumstances and because Benfica knows they got no margin for error, I think that they're very focused on who's the next opponent's going to be, because the idea is to get to the Alvalade on Saturday, still with that what is it, 1 point deficit?
1 point with the game in hand for
Wow.
Sporting.
1 point with a game in hand. So, which is not bad, right? Because if you beat Sporting now, right, on Saturday, and we'll get into it in a little bit, you got 2 points, and they still got some tough games, which I'll get through. But just
What do you mean 2 points? What do you mean 2 points? You get
We'll
3
be
points.
2 points.
well,
We'll be 2
you'll
points
be 2
ahead,
points
but
ahead
with the
if we beat Sporting,
game at hand.
but they'll have a game in hand.
And not just that, and then if they whatever, we'll have if they no, right? Yeah, because we'll be
The
2
head-to-head
points
is
ahead,
the
and then
first
if Sporting,
is the first tiebreaker.
Yeah, and then Benfica will have the head-to-head. That's what I was
Right.
gonna say.
We've
Because
already
obviously
beaten them in the
both games.
first round. Yep. Yep.
They'll have to.
So shifting gears, and Dave, I'll ask you, right? I think that's what I was asking you, right? I was about to ask you, and then Chris still had a question.
Sorry.
Um, what was your? I was asked yesterday what my feelings were on this game, and my answer was it really depends. If Benfica shows up like a team and not just dilly dally and then depend on the individualities, I think that Benfica will have a good chance. But if Benfica is not going to play well, and they're going to depend on individualities, I think that Sporting will have a good plan to close those guys down and neutralize them. What were your thoughts going into this game? What was your POW like, Dave?
Going into this Sporting
Yeah,
match that took place today.
yeah,
I mean, I think Hugo said this last time he was on here on the open forum. I don't get nervous against Sporting. I get nervous against matches against Porto, but we're kind of Sporting's we're Sporting is our bitch and Porto is and we're Porto's bitch, right? So
yeah.
I don't get nervous. I knew that there was a lot of at stake here, but they don't even when we go down a goal, I don't get nervous, and I don't think the team necessarily gets nervous. You saw they just got back and pushed ahead to go get the next goal, right? So I think there is a psychological aspect between Benfica when they play Sporting, just like we see the other side of it when we play Porto, right? So I wasn't nervous. I was cautiously optimistic going into this match, even though we've seen how bad Benfica's been playing recently.
What about you, Chris? What were your expectations going into this game today?
Uh, Not good. I actually thought Sporting was going to play a lot better than what they did today. If you went back to that first game at the start of the lose, where
Yeah,
Sporting
yeah,
pretty much manhandled us until Inacio got a red card, and even then they still had more possession until the last 5 minutes, where Benfica was able to turn the game around. So I expected Sporting to be better than what they were. I think Benfica, with their intensity, which is something that we call for in these big matches all the time, and I don't understand why don't why they don't do put out this type of performances on a more regular basis. But today they meant business. They went in for every tackle, as hard as they possibly could. You could tell that they were there today to take the game into their own hands, and unfortunately, they had a um, perfect scheme for this game, perfect attitude, perfect mentality, but they just couldn't capitalize on their chances. I think we let Sporting off the hook today, because Benfica was definitely the better team throughout the game. I think even Ruben Amorim said it after the game that Benfica was
yeah.
the better team on the field today, which is which is something I'm hoping that gives this team confidence going into Saturday's game. Because look, I asked this question on the open forum to a few people, and Hugo was one of them. If you had to, you're only going to win one game. Which one would you rather win? Which was today to send us to the final of Taça, something that we've only won 4 times in the last 30 years, which is absolutely pathetic. Haven't won one in 8 years. It's going to be 8 years now, which is just just inadmissible in a Benfica for Benfica. But for me, it was always win the campeonato, win on Saturday. That one puts us back in the lead
Yeah.
of a campeonato, puts the pressure onto Sporting. As much as it sucks to lose to Sporting, and I know a lot of people are not happy. I'm not happy. I'm not content with win on today. But I think that today gives this club a lot of confidence going into Alvalade on Saturday. And I'm hoping, as Dave says, we show them who's their daddy. If Benfica plays a lot better than the two performances that we saw, the one at the lose earlier in the year, the one I mentioned, and even that one game where the first leg of the Taça, Benfica had moments, but for the most part, Sporting was the better team. They were able to create danger whenever I mean, it was just a highway between our midfield, just get the ball to Goikers and let them go one on one against Antonio Silva. So like I said, I'm hoping that gives this team a lot of confidence. I'm hoping the boys believe after today. It's a shitty way to get eliminated. You played better, scored 2 goals. If the referees hadn't committed that one mistake, we'd be going to extra time, and then anything could happen. But again, that mentality, the attitude today impressed me because, as I mentioned before, it shows me that they haven't given up on this coach.
Yeah,
And this team is starting to believe, and if it's starting to click now, and I know after Friday's game, we weren't saying this because it was a pathetic performance, but maybe these guys now with this performance, yeah, it sucks to get eliminated, but you drew at home with a team that you should have clearly beaten. Going to Alvalade, believing, hopefully now they know it's down the stretch. There's 7 games left in the Campeonato. Maybe this is just the thing that they need to catapult them into to getting the Campeonato back in their hands.
yeah. I think that what we saw from this team was something that we were all that we all knew that this team was capable of, but it clearly for me, and I see a lot of people saying the same thing in the chat. This was our best performance of the season, more complete, almost 90 minutes of good football, good flow, creating chances. I think that if we have a good center forward, we win this game easily. I think we created enough. I think we dominated when we needed to dominate. We had good reactions to Sporting's goals. And it's a shame because I think that we were a little bit overeager to come out of the second half because we really felt that we had Sporting under, or I don't want to say against the ropes, but yet the last 30 minutes of the first half, Benfica dominated. So I think that the team was very confident in what they had done in the first half. And I think that when they came out of the for the second half, I said, let's go. Let's get on top of these guys. And I think they opened up a little bit in the back, and I think they were a little bit too passive in the defense, and they ended up allowing those 2 goals. But I think that the fact that you were able to chase the result each time and get it back each time speaks a lot about how motivated this team was and intent on winning this game.
But here's the difference in the little details, Alfredo,
Yeah.
right? Little details matter. In these games where teams are evenly matched up, it's the details that often makes the difference, right?
Right.
And as you said, the last 30 minutes of the first half, Benfica had Sporting on the ropes, right? And there's a huge difference here. Ruben Amorim and Roger Schmidt. Ruben Amorim didn't just sit on his ass and waited for things for the boys to do. Ruben Amorim was proactive, made 3 substitutions, and instantly paid dividends, 30 seconds, a minute into the second half? And that's the difference. Then Benfica was able to come down, get the tying goal. And then, I hate to do this because, as we know, I've been praising this guy, and I was screaming for Benfica to sign him last year. But Ruben is starting to lead goals, and to me, that was not that's not something that goalkeepers are taught to do. Get the ball into the middle of the box. He should have parried it away, caught it, do something. I hate the fact that goalies
He's
today.
that full stretch, Chris.
Come on,
He
bro.
just
But
gets
still, man.
I think he's. Look, I'm not saying that he's not.
Punch it away. You don't parry it back into the middle, man. And then the team got caught sleeping. But again, look, it was a mistake today. It was a mistake in the first game, in the Primera Mão at Alvalade, near post. It was a mistake after the goal in the third goal. And then also, and I think the second and third goal, I like Ruben, but maybe Ruben needs to wake up a little bit, smell the coffee, needs to sharpen things up. But again, little details. Roger Schmidt sat on his ass. The team, even when Benfica leveled things, and then right before Sport, and then again, Sport scored 3 minutes later. So, but Benfica had momentum on their side. The stadium was pumping. Make some substitutions. Don't just sit on your ass. Ruben Amorim made substitutions, paid dividends.
Yeah.
We didn't. And again, little details. And I'm not going down the road of criticizing Roger Schmidt, because if I had to really criticize Roger Schmidt for something today, is the fact that you started a sprinter at striker as opposed to a soccer player, which I will never understand that. And people defending that, he caused havoc, pressuring. Fan-fucking-tastic. All right, fantastic. That's not what he gets paid to do. He gets paid to score goals. That's why strikers, the guys that score goals, and I say this, it seems like every week, I should say, here on a podcast. That's why the guys that make the big bucks, the sexy guys, even ugly ones, they're sexy somehow, because they score goals. They don't get paid to just, press and cause havoc. At the end of the day, he had an opportunity, hits the crossbar. Okay? He had an opportunity against Porto at the beginning of the game, and what did he do? He shanked it over the goal, right? It's just, bro, there's players that are Benfica caliber, and then there's players that are just rotation. And this guy, the fact that he's getting all these starts in these big games frustrates me. Only because what? He can press? Por amor de Deus, bro. Por amor de Deus. I'll pass the ball. Vamos calar.
Chris, I don't dispute that. I think that it was spin the bottle again at the locker room.
What, for Saturday's game?
For this
Friday
game.
they're spinning it?
For this game.
We spun it. We spun it
Yeah,
today, you're saying.
and look, I completely understand what you're saying, right? The truth of the matter is that a lot of the high press that we had this game ended up favoring us. We ended up causing a lot of turnovers, and we remained on Sporting's half for most of that first half, the last 30 minutes of the first half. Benfica was on top of them. I don't want to say that Benfica was smothering Sporting, but certainly they kept coming and coming and coming. And a lot of that high press that Benfica had, and who would have thought that Di Maria could actually press, a lot of that high press allowed Benfica to recover balls and to remain in Sporting's half. Look, I'm with you, and I already said if we had a decent forward in this roster, we would have won this game. And the thing that upsets me the most that I was thinking, and look, I recognize all the talent Mark Leonardo has, but here's the thing: we identified a big gap in our roster, which was the center forward position, right? We go out and we spent money. What was it, 15, 18 million for Marcos Leonardo, Dave?
18 mil.
18 million. If you spend that kind of money, it better be a guy that walks right into your locker room or
mas
right into this.
Forget that.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
A guy that comes into this lineup and it makes a difference right away, because this is you've identified this gap. You've identified this piece that is missing. You try to correct it in the winter transfer window. You go out, you spend money, but you spend money on a guy that's sitting on a bench and barely has any minutes. So what did you really do in the winter transfer window? Did you just get a guy that's a future project, that's not a project for this year, that's a project for next year? I think you have to look at the decisions that Benfica made and the moves that Benfica made over the winter transfer window, especially after having identified that you don't have a decent forward. You don't have a guy that you could go to. It's spin the bottle between Musa, Tengsted, and Cabral, and this is never working. They identified that need. They went out, but at the same time, they got a guy that's not even playing. I don't understand.
I think what we can finally put to rest here, right, is whomever was the decision maker in buying Artur Cabral and then having him not work out, and then decided to spend another 18 million on Marcos Leonardo, who again, it's not set in stone that the guy can't play, but we can tell you he doesn't count for this coach. Right. At least it seems like he doesn't count. So I think what we can put the rest is that whoever that guy was making those decisions, I think he's not making any decisions going forward.
Right. Yeah. But it's baffling. It's baffling, and I think it speaks a lot to what the plan was for this season in terms of the acquisition pathway and growing this team and adding more to the depth. But I think that there's a lot of...
It's the strikers, Alfredo. It's the left back. It's you name it, man. It's just...
There's a bunch of factors we can look at. Certainly.
Yeah, I think at the end of the year, man, and I'm not harping, again, I'm not trying to get on Roger Schmidt. But look, we've been eliminated from Taça Portugal, eliminated from Taça da Liga. We're still alive in the Liga Europa, right? Against a decent matchup in Marseille, picking up a lot of injuries as well. So maybe now is the time to play them. They're still alive in the Campeonato, but this Saturday, all will be determined if we're alive or not, right? All I know is that come June 1st, and Benfica is sitting there holding nothing but receipts or bills for all these players, heads got to roll. I don't disagree. Something has heads have to roll, man. This needs to be looked at, and the decision makers need to decide what's going on. But this is unacceptable at Benfica. But that's conversation for another day. Let's
Yeah.
talk about today's game. And
Yeah.
Saturday is still a game that I think Benfica believes that they can win. Sporting will be without Inácio, will be without a couple of key players. And Benfica, again, after today's performance, it looks to me that they believe, and hopefully they show up on Saturday and they put up similar performance today. Midfield was terrific. I thought Tino had his best game of the season. Unfortunately, he still has some limitations with the ball at his feet, but in terms of defending, all of us here in the chat all over the world, any Benfica that watches Tino play knows that he's fantastic when it comes to recovering the ball. And it's just that attitude, man. Everybody came in 100%. They were hungry. They meant it. And it was a positive sign. Dave, definitely something to carry into the next game at Alvalade, correct?
100%. But like you said, as Ruben Amorim made changes at halftime, and I think he's gonna obviously tinker with his lineup going into this match on Saturday. We can't just expect a repeat of performance without Sporting making their own adjustments. One area I'd like to discuss and get your guys' thoughts. We know Queredes doesn't count for Roger Schmidt, so he's going with Arshness for better or for worse in that spot. Which, if I'm not mistaken, both goals come from that side of the pitch in today's match. For Saturday's match, do we put João Mario on that side to kind of help out with the defensive side of the ball and keep Neres on the bench to have as your super sub if needed in the second half?
I'll answer that real quick, and then we'll say goodbye to our friends at Pema Media. I think that knowing what we know from Roger Schmidt, he's gonna repeat the same exact lineup. I don't expect to see anything different because Roger Schmidt has always been like that. Whatever's working, well, I'm going to repeat that the next game. That's what he's done. Want to say goodbye to our friends at Pema Media. Thank you for checking us out. If you want to continue listening to us, we're available on all your podcast aggregators. Just look up Benfica Podcast, and you'll find us, and you'll hear the rest of the show. For now, goodbye. See you next week. All right.
Dave, now that was a question just for Saturday's game or for the remaining 7 games of the season?
We'll go with Saturdays because that's coming up next. But and really that's gonna be go ahead.
I was gonna say better not started practicing. So my Smuna, he's gonna be thrown in there
at some point.
Do you think so?
Do you think so? Make a difference?
Yeah, it makes a difference, Alfredo. Why not? Why wouldn't it make a difference? Let's say Benfica wins the game on Saturday. Don't make a difference. Now you can free up Ausnes to go play left mid as opposed to having João Mario or Neres and no longer have a defensive liability because everybody just puts so much importance on defending.
But you know, I understand the balance situation when Neres and Di Maria play at the same time. But I like Neres. I like Neres because he takes the focus away from Di Maria, because it seems that Benfica's plan has always been get the ball to Di Maria and let him work his magic, which a team of Benfica's caliber, we shouldn't be doing that. Everybody should
the individual brilliances that we talked about.
But the thing is that, you know, with Neres on the field, and I thought that the one thing that Roger Schmidt did bad today, or did poorly today, was the fact that Rafa was the one that should have came out when Neres came out, not Neres. I thought that Neres was still very much into the game and still very much a factor into the game. I thought that Rafa was absolutely bad this game, with the exception of the goal, obviously. But I think that having Neres takes some of the focus away and takes some of the pressure away from Di Maria, that now he's not the guy that everyone looks to produce each time that he gets the ball. So I like that. I like having Neres and Di Maria on the field, and I think that if you ask most Benfiquistas, they would say yes, regardless of the problems that it may pose in terms of the balance of the team. So, but I do think that this game at the Alvalade is going to be a completely different game, and I think you guys would agree with me. You got a Sporting with the 1-goal lead going into the second leg. I'm talking about today's game, obviously. Playing away, right? They know they're going to absorb a lot of pressure. They know they're probably gonna have to give up the ball to Benfica and let Benfica just move around and try to tighten up on that final third defensively. And it was a completely different approach than what Sporting is going to have against Benfica this Saturday. So I think that you guys would agree. I do feel that Roger Schmidt is going to repeat the same lineup. I don't think he's going to go with anything different, to be honest with you. But I do think it's going to be a different story. I just hope that whatever we were able to do today, and I've already mentioned here that there was the best performance of the team so far globally and in its entirety of the game. I'm just hoping that the team picks up on a lot of the things that they have done well today, pick up on that confidence, and then really take that confidence into the Alvalade, where it's not going to be a favorable crowd.
They gotta change the striker, Alfredo. I'd be okay with everybody else, same lineup, with the exception of the striker.
Yeah,
I can't see Casper the Ghost up there again. I just can't, bro. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Because he could press. Who cares, bro? Soccer's not about pressing. It's about scoring goals.
Well,
I'm tired of it.
There's styles of football, and some styles include high press.
Yeah, you can press all day, but you still don't win the game if you don't put the ball in the back of the net. That's great. That's beautiful. You still need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net.
That pressure causes you to turn over and causes you to go on the
and you still need somebody to score.
It's
That's
again.
Point. You're right, but you still need somebody to score, right?
You do, but
the ball's not going to go in by itself.
But if you're playing in your opponent's final third most of the game, you have a higher percentage that you're going to get a goal. But I understand what you're saying. You still need a guy to kick the ball and get it in the back of the net. I get it.
We have a Lagarto infiltrating over here, the chat.
Eric Krakauer.
Eric Krakauer. He's
Já sabia, bem, que o gajo vinha cá fazer qualquer merda.
Mingling amongst the Benfiquistas, which deep down inside he's always wanted to be a Benfiquista. So you guys know. But
nice.
He comes in, he says, it hurts me to see my guys Alfredo Cristiano so deflated.
Just...
All is not lost. Think we got a facada. If they lost, if it was the other way around, I wonder if you'd be mingling with us Benfiquistas on the Benfica podcast. But nonetheless.
O gajo nem aparecia, pá.
But no, I still got mad love for Eric. He brought me on the podcast the very first time, so mad love.
Yeah, that's right.
Hope you're well, Eric.
Big shout out to Eric. You could find Eric on a weekly basis, being one of the commentators on the MLS Plus or MLS package on Apple. He's one of the on-duty commentators for whatever match is playing. I don't know how they select that, but yeah, happy to see Eric in the chat. I wouldn't expect it any other way. But Dave, what are your thoughts heading into this game on Saturday?
I hope the team comes out and puts their attacking foot forward and isn't. I hope we're not waiting and trying to play a chess match with Sporting to see who's gonna hit the first strike, because it seems like Benfica, except for today, where today we've seen them right from the start go out and get it. But it seems like Benfica in these big matches in the past always waits to get punched or get a shot in the face first, and then they kind of wake up and then bring their game forward. But if they're able to bring this same match and intensity into the game on Saturday, I think we're sitting pretty. But like I said, I don't expect to see this same Sporting going home on Saturday too. I think they're going to make their appropriate adjustments, and hopefully we're in for a good game, even for a neutral perspective. Because even for this match here, we didn't get away with the victory and the passage to the finals, but from a neutral standpoint, this was a fantastic match to watch.
Yeah.
I think this game will be a little bit different, Dave. I think you're right for the most part, right, Dave? But let's not forget that now it's Benfica who are the chasers, the hunters.
Yeah.
Well, we were the hunters for this too, right? We needed to go and get the goals because of the one,
and we did.
Yeah, Yeah.
And we did. So I know, because you said normally in these big games, Benfica sits back and they wait. And I'm saying, yeah, but like today, you saw today's a perfect example. You brought it up yourself. Good look. But they didn't just sit back. Benfica went for it. Unfortunately, you had a couple mishaps and you couldn't keep Sporting off the score sheet. But Benfica went for it and very well could have come away with the victory in this game. And I think in this game at Sporting on Saturday, Benfica doesn't have the luxury of coming away with a draw. A draw is a terrible result for Benfica. It's win or nothing.
A draw doesn't do it.
So I see what you're saying, Dave, but I think this one game, I think Benfica is going to have to come on top. And I think Sporting, a lot of times we've seen where they play better, where they give up the ball and just counter. And then you have a guy like their own Darwin Nunez up top, a monster, just a physical specimen who's able to cause havoc and score goals. The guy, even today, man, he had that beautiful play. It's ugly the way he does it. It's like he let to that force and then he shoots it off the post. It's like, well, what the hell? And so I think Sporting is very comfortable playing in that manner. Benfica is going to have to come, chase the result, find a way to get a lead, and defend and themselves struggle defensively as well, because you know how it is. You got to put up with that. But yeah, I think it's different, a little bit different, Dave. I think Benfica has to hunt the result, because anything but a win is a terrible result for them.
Yeah, Ruben Amorim ended up admitting at the end of the game that Benfica was the better team, and kudos to him, right? I just don't. I think I find it hard to believe that Sporting is going to adapt the same style. First of all, it's a different context, right? But I think them playing at the Alvalade, you can't finish the game and feel or say at the end of the game that Benfica were a better team and we just happen to get the result. I think that Sporting fans have...
That could be mental games, Alfredo.
Right.
That could be mental games for his team.
No, but clearly Benfica was the better team today, and I thought it was really nice of him to admit that, right? But I just think that how far the Sporting team has come, and for me, they've been the most consistent team in this league, right? They haven't been head over heels over everyone or thousands of miles over everyone, but they've been consistency, and I think that if they have their place on the table today is because of their consistency. I don't think that the fans are going to like if the team takes a different approach on the game on Saturday, other than this is our house and we're going to play this game under our terms. I just think that that's the approach that Sporting is going to have. Benfica has to chase, as we know, and I admit that, and we all agree. But I don't think that Sporting is going to be a pushover.
I don't know. I think Sporting could care less. I think at the end of the day, the fan, if anything but a win for Benfica, I think they'll be content because they still keep that gap. They could care less. So, again, it comes down to at the end of the season, and you're holding on for a team that's won one title in 20 years, right? They could care less. There's going to be 6 games left after this week, and anything but a loss to them is positive. Yeah. So I know we talk about all the time that, like, would you rather play beautiful and lose or play ugly and win? And I think Sporting is going to enter that stage real quick here. I don't know if it's this week, but it'll be soon, right? And I think I shouldn't say I don't know if this week. I think, this week they don't care if they don't play well and they still come away with at least a draw. I think they'll be content. I think they want to maintain that gap between the two.
Yeah, let me go over, and Dave, I didn't even go to you for stats, man. We're all over the place. But let me just after this game between Sporting and Benfica, I'll tell you what teams they got left. So Benfica will have 6 games left. Sporting will have 7 games, obviously, because they have the game on hand. Benfica will play Moreirense. They will go to Algarve to play Farense. They will then host Braga at Estádio da Luz, go to Famalicão. With the new coach, correct. Go to Famalicão, host Aroca, which gave us a hard time, and it's a team that touches the ball around.
Nice team.
And we finish off in Rio Ave. Sporting has Gil Vicente, at Gil Vicente. Then they have that makeup game at Famalicão. They then host Vitória de Guimarães. They go to the Dragão, host Portimonense in Alvalade, go to Estoril, and finish up with last place team currently, Chaves. So I think when you look at the schedule, and if Benfica could keep it close, right? If Benfica could keep um, even if it's that 1 point or 2 point ahead of Sporting, then Sporting gets back and cuts the deficit, and they go up 1 point.
So
I
one.
mean, there's difficult games here for Sporting. They got to win at the Dragão, and I don't know if Porto's just going to roll over. They may roll over if they feel that third place is or second place is out of contention. They may roll over just to because they don't want Benfica to win. Obviously,
Yeah, but Alfredo, but even if they don't lose
Even
this
before
game,
that match.
yeah, but even
Sorry,
if they
go
don't
ahead.
lose, if they don't lose this game to Benfica, right? Which is something we don't want to think
yeah,
about.
they're
But
they're
let's
they're
just
done.
talk.
I think
Let's
they're done.
talk from a. No, I don't think so. Let's talk from a Sporting standpoint. If they tie on Saturday and they come away with the 1 point lead still, right? And then they win the game in hand, they'll be up 4 points. That gives them the luxury, right, of going to Dragão and losing that game. As long
Yeah.
as they win the rest of their games, which is doable, and they're still 1 point up on Benfica. So, like I said, I don't think you're putting all this added pressure on Sporting. I don't see it that way. I think,
Yeah.
like I said, they'll be content.
But
They just have to make sure they win their games, and they can still lose at Dragão, and they'll be fine.
yeah, they got that the game at Famalicão is not the makeup game at Famalicão is not going to be easy. The game at the Alvalade with Guimarães is not going to be easy. And then you got to go to Estoril, which is not going to be easy because albeit Estoril being at the place that they are currently in the table, they're a team that could score a lot of goals. They got one of the most entertaining players of the league outside the top three teams, and I think
Rafiki,
Rafiki, yeah, and I think that it's a much harder schedule for Sporting than it is for Benfica. I think if I'm looking at this Benfica schedule, Braga at the Luz, with the new coach, I very much doubt that the new coach is going to change much as what's been done by Artur Jorge. Maybe he'll work some more on their defensive side because they're really poor on the defensive side of the ball. But Famalicão is not going to be easy. Aroca, we saw it in the first
it's not easy.
first round that they were one of the teams that came and had most of the possession, or was it a cup game? I think it was at Stade Luz.
No, we played there. We played. Yeah, I was there. We played there for a cup. And,
Yeah.
But that was for the Taça, yeah.
that was for the time.
had
They played really well, and that was the game I believe after we had played Riwav, who absolutely manhandled us until they got a red card, and then Benfica just took over the game in the last 30 minutes. But look, I don't think Benfica has the sexy names that a Sporting does in a Porto and Guimarães. But none of these teams you're talking about are pushovers as well.
No.
I think Aroca is a tough team. Riwav is a really tough team. Again, they've made our lives hell when we play them. So again, man, you don't have that sexy name, but I think at the end of the day, Porto, like you said, if second place is out of reach, you think Porto is gonna do Benfica any favor? I know they have this rivalry going on between the two.
They're gonna.
I know they have this rivalry because Ventura's always calling Pinto Costa a crook and whatnot. So maybe that right there.
You mean Varandas?
Keeps this game alive. Yeah, Varandas. I don't know.
Ventura é o gajo do Chega, pá.
Yeah, whatever. Varandas, Ventura, same, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, maybe there's that rivalry going on because every time you see these teams playing, there's some type of fight. Remember a couple years ago, the ball boys got involved throwing chairs and balls. So yeah, there's something there, but we'll see what happens. Look, first Benfica has to handle their business on Saturday.
That's the thing. This is all a moot point if Benfica doesn't win on Saturday, and I think that any result but a win is not a good result, and it definitely makes things a lot more difficult. And what I really feel is that I think that Sporting right now, there's a struggle in terms of how fresh they are. I think we started seeing a lot of things that Ruben Amorim has started to basically rotate players because he feels that this team is tired. But I do think that if they beat this Benfica team, I think that their fan base will carry them the rest of the way. Out of those 7 games that they have to play, 4 of them are away. and 3 of them are at Stadio Alvalade. So it's not an easy thing, but I think that Benfica, at the end of the day, as somebody said on the chat, we gotta worry about ourselves. We gotta continue winning games, and I think it'd be great.
Let's not forget we're still in Europa League too, so
the Europa League sandwich is the Moreirense game, which is the next league game. So after Sporting, we got Marseille midweek on Thursday, and then we have Moreirense over the weekend, and then we got Marseille on the second leg.
So. Dirty Digger says here in the chat, because you're talking about the chat, it says if Benfica goes into all the remaining games like they did today, it would be almost impossible for them not to win the league. I mean, absolutely. Ozzy Benfica mentioned before, he said Benfica can't afford to wait on Saturday. We'll probably go all guns blazing. Do we have any strikers playing on the Bs that we can call up as SOBs?
Yeah, Prestiani is playing striker on the B.
Milton Carvalho says Casper hustles, but the guy can't do shit with his feet. Email of my man Cabral was starting to get on the hot streak with goals every week, and then all of a sudden, back on the bench for Casper. Diogo Reis, the comedian. They have to play to win because their schedule is much tougher. Talking about Sporting Benfica need to just worry about themselves and handle their business. And then Milton Carvalho, I mentioned Ventura, so he comes with Chega 2024. I
I think it's I agree with you guys. If Benfica plays like they played today, right, and let's hope that they can, and let's hope that the team now, as all of a sudden they found this in themselves, and they know that they're capable of playing this weekend and weekend out, and that the team finishes. But I think that from what we've seen from Benfica, we see a somewhat positive game, and then the next game is everything is in the shitter, and it's been just inconsistency throughout the season. So I would like to think that perhaps there's something woke up in these players, and they're going to go into the Alvalade. They're going to win the game, and then they're going to create this momentum for the rest of the season. I would love to think that. But I think it's just it's a bit late for me in the season for a team to finally find their way. I think if you need to find your way, you need to do it either right before Christmas or right after the winter transfer window, when you get in new guys and you get a new fresh look. But I think in April, if you haven't seen it all season, it's going to be hard.
There's a reason for it, but the huge but. I mean, they're still in it, and this is the crunch time now. If we're just gonna go off of our last performance, which today was a positive one, regardless of getting eliminated from the Taça, that's a negative, obviously, but the performance itself was a positive performance. And if we could just build off of today's performance, go into the next game, this is crunch time. I understand what you're saying, but they're right there, bro. Yeah. The championship is still in their reach. So
and that's where you want to be at this stage of the season, right? You want to be within reach, but I think that in terms of the consistency that you've shown all season, and the up and downs and the peaks and valleys,
it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good. What we often say, the only consistent thing about Benfica has been their inconsistency.
Yeah, the only thing exactly. Jason Gaidol is saying experiment with Leonardo and Cabral up front. But
that's something you should have been done today in today's game. You need a goal later on. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. He never plays with two strikers. I think he did it once.
Yeah,
I don't recall.
I very much doubt that he even trains that in practice. If he was training that in practice, and this could be a plan B. We've only seen two forwards up front when we really desperately need a goal, and he's making that substitutions in the 84th minute. Put another forward up front. I just don't know that that's a plan B. I would love to do it. Or Cabral and Tankstead. Let Tankstead run around, and Cabral just stationary in a box waiting to collect.
Look, anyway. I'm going to leave it on a positive note before we exit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Vamos embora. Vamos embora com o Cristiano já. He's heard enough about Casper, the friendly ghost.
Yeah, here's here's the positivity. Okay, leave it on a good note. And you got me Casper. Scuba. And Roger Schmidt, we trust, baby. Let's go.
For better or for worse.
That's it. For better
Dave, you
or
got
for
any?
worse, and Roger Schmidt, we trust.
You have any stats worth mentioning? I'm sorry, I didn't go to you, bro.
No, it's not. We're already gone. Let's wrap this up.
Go ahead, Dave. 26 shots on 26 shots, 2 goals. Go ahead, Dave. You can say it.
Cabral has now missed 2 out of 2 PKs.
It's good. Don't take
was
no
it.
more. Don't take no more.
Yeah.
You know what's good at taking them? Going back to the PK, João Mario. He was decent. He missed a couple, but he scored for the most part.
I know. Milton Carvalho say, Alfredo, I think he's mentioned that he doesn't train with 2-striker system, only in desperate during extra time. Yep, exactly. That's what I just said. Yeah,
He doesn't have to say it. We see it.
we see it. Anyway, guys, it's been really great. I know that it wasn't a win today, but certainly I think that seeing what this team put out, and look, there's no moral victories and ties or losses, right? It's either you win or you lose. And today for me it was a loss, obviously, right? But seeing this team fulfill at least some of their potential, or some of the potential that we feel that this team has, and seeing them play this way, it's definitely encouraging. And it sucks because it's like you're mad at the team, you're mad at the situation, you hate Roger Schmidt, you're not happy with anything, and you're almost you're hanging by a thread in terms of how invested you are in this team, right? And then all of a sudden they play games like this, and you're right back fucking in. You right back in. So now everybody's invested into this Sporting game.
Tu estás maluco. Whether it's games like this or games like Chaves, bro. They hit some stores burros. We'll be there next game, bro.
Exactly. But
it don't
I
matter
mean, look,
about the game.
It hasn't been.
We'll be there Saturday.
It's been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of being a Benfica fan this season. Not so much for the results, I think, but because we had this huge expectation on what this team was going to do, especially with who we went to get, right, and the money that we spent, and building up on top of last year, regardless whether that final stretch was a little bit shaky. But it was just one of those things that everybody was looking at the season with very high expectations. And, the frustration comes from seeing the team not fulfilling those expectations. So it's just like, okay, so maybe we'll see them and we'll still squeeze out a win and squeeze out a championship at the end of the day. I don't know. Anyway, that's all I got. Chris, anything else you wanted to
Beijinhos para os meninos e para as meninas. Grande abraço. Xixi cama.
Yeah. Dave?
Ditto.
All right, everyone. We'll be back next, you know what? Next week we're gonna be back on. We'll be back on Monday. I got to do something on Tuesday night. We'll do the show on Monday. So keep an eye out for the show.
When do Benfica play Marseille?
Thursday.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, look, we're not.
I got a busy week next week.
You're
I'm
good.
traveling.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
So Monday we'll do the podcast. So keep an eye out for that. We'll do a Monday night like usually, or sometime.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Beijinhos para todos.
Beijinhos e beijinhos e abraços. And be good to each other. Later.
Correct.
And if you ride your bike at night, wear white.